Okay, welcome to everyone and thank you for joining us for this afternoon's live webinar. Welcome also to the teachers who are engaging with the recorded version of the webinar. This is the fourth of 5th webinars hosted by MLTAV and supported by the Victorian Department of Education, Victorian Government. It's to support languages teachers in the current remote teaching and learning environment and beyond. We are fortunate this afternoon to have with us two amazing presenters. I'm not going to go into too much detail about their bio because I'm really keen to get started with their presentations so they don't have to drop anything off. So two amazing presenters and teachers, languages teachers, Veronica Darren and Marjorie Lynette. Just very briefly in way of introduction. Marjorie's been teaching French for 18 years and has been working as a teacher of French years 7 to 12 in Australia since 2008. Veronica has been teaching French secondary levels at VSL through distance education as well as face-to-face centre classes for many years. So their two presenters are going to be looking at how VSL, distance education, experience expertise, and a collaborative approach can be used to support teachers in the current COVID-19 remote teaching environment and beyond. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Marjorie, who's going to go first, and then Marjorie will hand over to Veronica. Then please stay with us. I'll come back at the end with information about certificates of participation. So thank you so much, Marjorie. Over to you.
Hello, can you see me? It happens, it's like the classroom, you know that. So we start again because you get a kid that says, hey miss, I can't hear you, hey, it has crashed. So yes, I'm Marjorie, I'm a teacher of French and I teach French and humanities in a secondary college. And when COVID-19 hit us, it was very challenging and I had no idea what was a webinar and how you would operate on that. I was just like you. So we got some training with my college, with VSL, and I was supported by a friend of mine called Denise Katiforis, and she gave me some strategies that I've been working on. And today I'm here to share with you strategies and ideas that worked for me to support the students. And also, I would like to share with you some scaffolding that you can use in your classroom. And I'll go with a specific, specific focus on viewing. So my itinerary is that of a teacher. And as I told you, with trial and error, I've been operating in breakout rooms and it's been fantastic. I've been able to establish contact with my student through the platform, and I can see that COVID-19, though it's very challenging for us all, teachers as well as students, it's been a great platform and it's offering new avenues in teaching. It's an ongoing journey, I might say. So what I'm going to do in a first part, I'll show you how I've created with my kids a learning routine using authentic online resources at the start of a lesson. I'll also show you how I tried with little activities to get them together to keep the connectedness with activities in my classroom via Zoom. How I also initiated a COVID-19 diary to encourage them to write. It worked very well with my girls, not really with my boys, but I gave them some incentives so as to get them writing things during the period of COVID-19. Also, I'll talk about VCE, the outcome about viewing, because lots of teachers, we were a bit stressed about this one, and how I've been supported by Screencastify to be able to support my student. And finally, I'll share with you the extract of the film that I've chosen for Unit 3, Outcome 2. And let's start. So I said that in all my classes during COVID-19, because the kids they are stressed, and at home sometimes the situation is not very joyful, I decided that I would privilege the use of online resources, YouTube songs. And in year 7 and year 8, this is a fantastic idea, you know, to start your lesson with the kids being joyful. So what I did, and you do know that, you know, the kids come period 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes they are tired. And one of the ways to do that, and even us teachers for our back, shoulders, and neck, one of the ways to do that is you just get moving a little bit. I'm going to show you, for example, what's working in my classroom. And so I don't know if you hear the sound. Can you please tell Karen if you can hear the song that is playing right now? Yes, I hope that you're hearing it. Do you? Are you? Yes, they can. Fantastic. This is my little song, and it works well because when it says en avant, en arrière, so we can go forward and we can go backwards, and I move with the music at the same time. I move my shoulders just as I'm doing right now, and the kids love that. So songs is one way. It's a recipe for you and for your students as well. You just have to choose the song that is appealing in your language and adjust the song to the profile of your class. It's a great way, you know, to stretch out, to move, and it's been working for me. Okay? Find one that is appealing for your classroom. Now, one thing that I found during these 4 weeks is the progression of my classes with the songs. If you've got a year 7, then you would see that during your classroom with year 7, I started to learn the numbers. And in year 7, in term 2, they would be to 1 to 20 or 25. What I found with the routine with songs, my kids in year 7 are now to 50, and they are enjoying it because we start the classroom with songs. And also my year 8 is now from 50 to 70 and will shift to 100 very soon. So this is how I maintain the dynamism in my classroom. And for example, to go for the video little bit less, and my year 8 is now counting from 70 to 100. So what can we see? We can see that it's a hit with lesson time, and they are much appreciated. And sometimes what I can do, I unmute my students and I unmute everybody, and I can hear them singing in the background. How is that? And it's really, you know, it gives us a sense of belonging to the class because we are singing the same song, even if we are isolated. And that was fantastic for me, this strategy to keep my classrooms going. What did I do as a routine for year 11 and 12? This is something else that is really, that I'm enjoying with my classroom because, so I want that to be down, I know. So here you go. I think it's much better for you. And so you can see this little girl, for example, in year 11 and year 12, I've started to bring little things of one minute, 2 minutes. I show that to my 11 and 12s, and then it helps me, you know, just launch these questions. Who is it? What is she saying? Where are we? What do you think about what she said? Why is she saying that? And my questions in the target language, and I'm able then to get them to speak about that. The beauty of it is that at the beginning, I would bring my documents, but at the end, I ask them to share. So they take the lead, they share the document in the classroom, and this is a fantastic way. And since these 3 last weeks, I've seen documents that are shared by my students from year 11 and 12. We are working on ecology, and it's been really great to be able to to be able to share with them. And I can see that they are progressing in the way they present a document, and that will help them in the study design. So this is what I presented to them.
Tu sais que la vie,
it's a little
elle est
girl.
belle.
I hope that you're
Mais
hearing
on
the
ne voit
sound.
plus la vie quand on meurt. Du coup, c'est un peu triste. Il faut en profiter de la vie. La vie, c'est joli, c'est beau. On peut voyager, chanter, rigoler. Sur la terre, tout est joli. Il y a plein de choses qu'on dit jolies. Les princes, les reines, les diamants, les chansons douces, les bébés. Tout ça, c'est chouette. Du coup, il faut en profiter s'ils seront grands. Mais c'est chouette d'avoir des copains sur la terre. Après, quand on meurt, on ne les voit plus. C'est triste.
Tu veux que j'aille te chercher un cookie?
Oui.
J'y vais, mon cœur. Vas-y.
That was so cute. So this little girl, this is a little girl experiencing COVID-19. And it's amazing what's going on in her head. And she's telling us about it. And she's talking about, yes, princess, dreams, diamonds, lullabies. And this is a fantastic document for me because it helps the kids talk about what the document is actually, and how they can comment and analyze it and what they think about it. And my way to help them through that is to create a glossary, a PowerPoint that they can use, and they've been using it. And I'll show you how I used Quizlet, okay, to be able to use the vocabulary to express their opinions. So here it is for my first part, and I'm going to show you now another way to keep the students on track. And so let's go to my second document. Here, I'll share my screen, and here we go. Share. I'm going to see that. Yes, it's going. You know, it's like your classroom. Sometimes we are frustrated. Here you go. So this is my document, and this is one activity that I've started with my classroom, which is working really well, and it's about a journal. So it's a regular invitation to writing in the target language. And I've provided scaffolding all along the way for them in year 9 to write about their emotions, but also it does that. It really is a benefit for them. They acquire vocab, they recognize features of a text type, they create a journal in the target language, and you get you have a glossary to help them, and I help them to reflect upon the journal. So I've started these journal entries, and what is great as well is they are able in this journal to talk about, number one, the weather. Number two, I wanted them to say, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm scared, I'm fed up of COVID-19. It's a great way to let go. So I've provided a sample here, which is a very short sample, not to discourage them, because I want to encourage my classroom to write. So with these little questions, and once they've answered the question, they know how to go about this journal. These are the tools that I've provided, but you can create, you know, a set in Quizlet for them to be able to talk about the weather. And also what I did to be a little bit fun, I provided this song, and I thought that...
Quel temps fait-il aujourd'hui? Est-ce qu'il fait beau aujourd'hui? Non, il pleut.
Okay, so this showed us that you can play with, yes, so after the song gives them the vocabulary to be able to talk about the weather. Here are my expressions, And that was really good for them to say, I'm scared, I'm happy, I'm bored. Also, it's hot, it's cold, I'm thirsty, etc. And they are going to put all of that in the journal. Here you can see what I've provided for them to write. Now, some kids are sneaking a bit. They say, oh, Madame Lunette, you know, I can't write, or I can't show you what I've written. So what you can do is that then for these kids that tell you that the computer has crashed or they pretend anything, you just say, okay, take a picture of the page where you've written your journal on. Or you can also ask them to put it in OneNote. You can also ask them to write it in their electronic workbook, and that's fine. And then you can give feedback. So to get them going, I worked on that with my classroom. And then when they've written their first entry, I give them a bit of the feedback with this criteria sheet. And after that, when they finished their journal, this is what I did to make them reflect upon the journal. So this was my way to share with you a little thing that worked very, very well with a year 9, especially girls. And we'll pass to our third partner, and I'll share with you another experience that worked in my start again. And this is part 2B that I would like to share with you. Click on it and share. I don't know why I can't actually. There is some little technicalities of it. So I'll start again. Okay, so maybe I'll ask Kerry to share the document so that we can get it going. It's part 2C. Part 2C. And yeah. So these are little things that happen in the classroom. I know, gets us frustrated and sometimes fantastic. Thank you, Kerry. Yeah, that's fantastic. So I'm going to take something else to show you. If you've got Google Forms in your classroom, I don't know if you've got it, but if you got it, then here is what I organize for my classroom. I've got my kids to work. For example, in year 8, we are working on school life. So after doing the content, I've organized a quiz on Google Forms. And after that, have a look at that. For you teachers, it's great because you've got instant feedback after they've done their quizzes. And some people who, for example, have a look at the frequently missed questions. I can see 6 out of 55, which means that this poor student didn't revise. So I can comment on that and I can tell her, look, I'm giving you another chance, have a go at the quiz. Google Forms is also fantastic because you can get a graph to know how your classroom is working. And these are little things that are working quite well. And as you can see, I'm showing you some different assessments that I've tried and different evaluation of what I'm doing with my classroom. So you can see at the top of your screen how you can use your Google Forms. So I'll show you here. Can you see the red circle at the top on your computer? If you click on it, you'll see lots of icons, and then you can go to Forms, which is purple, and then you can create your Google form. And this is a great way for you to be able to connect and with your classroom and know how it's going for you. And so now I'm going to share another PowerPoint with you, another little experience that I'll be sharing with you. So I want I want to share a collaborative correction that I did in my classroom. So on this document that you can see different colors. Why these colors? What we did, we presented a blog, and my students in year 11 and 12 didn't know the vocab for that, the jargon that you use, and that was fantastic because and I've got their consent today to show you their work. Now, I asked them to comment, to identify, to analyze a blog, and after I've done that, it was in Quad enough. And the red part is one from Laureen, a student of mine, and then the purple one is from Shay, and then the next part of it, in the conclusion, we carry on, it's from Sean. So what happened, I asked my student actually to share the document. So we went on their documents, I had their free documents, and together with my classroom, we corrected on Zoom, via Zoom actually. And what you can see here is a document where 3 students have participated, and they've been able to show, and they are proud of what they've done. And we've got a fantastic way here to be able to correct as well, to show the vocab, the rich vocab that we've used, and they were very happy about it. After we've done this collaborative work, what I could feel, I gave them another document to describe, and they got it right. I've put A's on their copy because we did it together, and it was great, and they could see with the red, the red starters, the connectives that we've used, how they can use rich vocabulary and reproduce what we've learned in class. That was a collaborative work together. Okay, so what am I going to show you now? We'll go to writing styles, part 3. I want to show you something else that I've worked with my classroom. And so my learning intentions were to give students keys to differentiate between writing styles. And also I wanted them to get the difference between what is a personal writing and imaginative writing. So I'm going to focus on these 2 styles. Why did I choose that? Just because, so I want to browse. No, I want to pass to the second page. Yes. Okay, so I wanted to show that to my students because the previous reports made it clear that students who know what to expect for the exams delivered really well, okay? So it needed preparation because some students, according to VCAA report of 2019, showed that some students didn't know at all the different writing styles. So then what we can see here, I took exam samples of 2018 and 2019. You can see imaginative writing and personal writing. I've picked them up because I wanted them to have a go at them. So for them to be able to do that, I've scaffolded lots of things. I've shown them what is a personal writing, and you can organize a jigsaw or a matching thing. And I wanted to show them what is an imaginative writing, so they could compare the different styles, because what I wanted them to do, to be able to produce, to write, to create these 2 different kinds of writing. So also important for them to know that personal writing, where can we get that, okay? What are the different writing styles, and what are the different text types that offer this opportunity? So this is the scaffolding that I gave them through PowerPoint, and also one thing that we should remember is why these choices, because every single year you've got a personal and you've got an imaginative writing. Also, I talk to them about criteria, because sometimes they just write and they don't know how to maximize on their marks that they can get. And this is a very valuable sheet that I gave them, so that they know, oh, okay, who am I as a writer, whom I'm writing to, what's the text type, what's the content, what am I going to use, what am I trying to do, and how I can get maximum marks. And what I did, and I really recommend you this, because my students, half of them have been trying, number one, the journal, and half of them have been trying the imaginative writing. I gave them the same prompt, actually. You can see the prompt up there. I'll show my cursor. Tomorrow is Easter. You're a mother about to prepare Easter for your family the next day. This reminds you on how Easter used to be during your childhood. So I asked them to write an imaginative story, which starts with, I'm looking at my 6-year-old son who's fast asleep. He looks like my little brother, actually. I'm at my grandma's place where there are so many beautiful memories. So you can already see that I want the students to use the imperfect tense and to shift between the past tense and the imperfect tense. So what I did, I also gave them the same prompt, and they used that to do the journal. I provided them with an example of a writing. I go back. This is my sample. So you can see the sample here that I've written for them, so they get an idea of what it is exactly. And then I use Screencastify for support. So you can see I was just like you. I didn't know how it worked. 2 weeks ago, I went on Screencastify, and it's very, very simple. You just follow the prompt. You Google Screencastify, you follow the prompt, and the recommendation I give you is just don't exceed 5 minutes, because it will be too heavy. And you can see me at the corner like a little mouse like here, because I gave a link to the students. I tried to play my video no, it doesn't work, because if I click on Screencastify, I would love it to work. So for some reason it's not, but yours is going to work, I promise you. So this is what I've given to my students, and they are able, the slow learners, they put my voice, even they don't like it too much sometimes, but they tell me that my accent is good, so they love hearing my voice. So they use the Screencastify document to be able to work, and they get this support, and they can work on it anytime they want. So now your turn. My students, I ask them to pick one of these, and I ask them to fill in and to show me. I put comments on it, and I've been using what they recommend us to use, the high impact teaching strategy. I used a sample, I modeled it, worked examples seemed to work really, really well, and this is how I got them to do my writing. These are little things that you can do with your students. I'm going now to another part. I don't know, Kerry, how much time I've got. I'd like to show them something else that I did with viewing. So let's go not to the songs. We'll finish with the songs. I'll go to one way that I had to work for viewing. Okay, so I hope that you can see my document right now on the screen. And this is about Unit 3, Outcome 2, which is viewing. And as you know, in this outcome, we are supposed as teachers to get our students, to give them opportunities to work on 3 texts and more. This is what they say, 3 texts and more on the same topic. How you can do that? It's true that it's COVID-19 and we don't want to talk about wars, etc. But maybe what we can do is really to choose another topic. You know, it's about the Second World War. But what I could find is that I used a letter written by Guy Moquet, a young man of 17 accused by the Gestapo of propaganda. And I used his letter as a text type. I used as well a photo cover of the film, but I also showed them the trailer of the film. And surprise, surprise, when there is no COVID-19, I can show a trailer to the kids and they say, oh, can we watch the film together, miss? And this time they were home. I just showed them the trailer of this film, and it's about this young militant, and he was taken hostage by the Nazis and he was executed. I showed them the trailer, and surprise, surprise, I showed that the trailer, I think during Anzac, that was during Anzac period, and it worked really, really well because it helped me, okay, do viewing with them, analyze the documents. It helped me also work on film clips, and you can see that in Unit 1, Unit 2, these are the skills they require in Unit 4. So it's a lot of viewing that we are made to do. And during COVID-19, I'm covering all this part, and we are really doing viewing every day. So the 3 documents are there, the letter, the photo, the trailer, but you can also, if you don't want to show the trailer, you can record your voice on the letter, and it's a 4th document. Now we're going to watch. I hope that you're going to be able to see this. Yes. I don't know if the sound is okay for you. Yeah. So this is what I showed to my students. I just will watch 2 minutes of it or 1 minute. Okay, that was the film, and surprise, surprise, how the kids have watched the film during the weekend, and on the Monday they wanted to talk about it. And this is how I presented to them the letter. This is the letter of this young man that you saw on the screen, Guy Moquet, and he writes to his mom, his little brother, and his dad. And we analyzed this letter. And also what you can do if you don't want that, you could at least maybe next year, I'm thinking that I'm going to record my voice and read the letter, and it becomes a listening document as well. So I provided them with scaffolding there, introduction, paragraph, okay, their comments, the conclusion, and the question, will you recommend this film? Justify your answer. Okay, and also the letter, how does this letter relate to us? Why is this kind of artifact still important nowadays? And it was Anzac period, it worked, lest we forget. So they could relate to that. And so these are the 2 documents I used, Calme at Sea, La Mer à l'Aube, and I'll give you all these after the webinar. And before letting them work on it. This is how these questions that I set to them so that they are able to know a bit of background about the Second World War. And how did I get them, support them for them to describe the film? I used Quizlet. So I created a set on Quizlet, okay, and you'll be able to get them. And the students have been able to get all their vocab. And you can see here on the left-hand side, they can use flashcards, they can write, they can spell, they can test themselves on the vocab, they can match it, and they can have the test. And when they do the test, hey, buddies, you know who hasn't worked and who hasn't learned the vocab. And you can tell them to go and work again on the vocab to be able to progress in what they are doing. So maybe I'll go back to the Quizlet thing. I want to know if it works. So does it work? Can it bring us to the... Yes, it goes well. And here is my set. You can see my set. It's not sharing, so I'll start sharing again. This is my... Yes, let's share that again. Here you go. So, il s'agit de... Ce film est intitulé La mer à l'aube. Il raconte l'histoire de... Au premier plan, you can see the English translation that I've organized. So, teachers, whatever your topic, this is a great way for you to create your own work set. Whatever document you're on, you can use that for your students. And I'll stop sharing Quizlet. So if you're working on La Belle Époque, you can create your document as well. And I'll finish with a last document. I don't know, Kerry, do I have time to go on my last document? Yes? No, songs, using songs. I want to use... I love songs. I'm very cultural. I've got a passion for history and culture. So I decided that I would be using songs to work at 3 different levels. So I chose just one song, and this song was about a little girl who is, you know how little girls are in love with their dads. So this song shows a little girl, and it's called La vie c'est quoi? What's life about? I've used this song to, we'll play this song, hope it works. So if the song doesn't work, you'll be able to listen for yourself at home. But my students loved the song because it was very harmonious and very peaceful, and it helped them understand what the story was about. Now, at the beginning of the song, you can see the little girl saying to dad, what is life? What's jealousy? What is sickness? So I'd like you to appreciate and enjoy this song as it goes. So, and the, I don't know why, but kids loved it in year 10, in year 11, in year 12, and in year 7, I just played it just to ask them about what's the beginning and what's the end. And this little girl learns about life thanks to dad. And maybe I'll ask Kerry to help me to go towards the end, a little bit the end of the song. And towards the end of the song, the little girl is an old woman. A little bit, yes. So this little girl becomes an old woman, and then what happens, if we can play it, she has a diary, and she remembers when she was a little kid, and she remembers the love her dad had for her, and this is the diary. So year 7 has been able to tell me, oh, Madame Lunette, at the beginning it's a little girl, and at the end it's an old person. And we had just finished with describing people, jeune, vieux, like young, old, etc. With their bits and pieces, they could also use it. So I've been using this song I'll say, for different classes. And so here, that was chosen for year 8. I had little questions on the song. And then I would go to vocab matching activity. I used the same song for year 9. And for year 9, the questions were a little bit more because I wanted them to try in French, la jalousie, l'amour, l'amitié, because in your language, you just say friendship, but in French, you say l'amitié. In your language, you say jealousy, but in my language, we say la jalousie. So it helped them see if they were going to put feminine and masculine with it. So here is what I've done for my year 11. I provided them with abstract nouns, translations, and then we worked a bit with it. And after that, you can see that it helped us for viewing. So again, in outcome 2 interpretive communication, these are skills that your students need to have. So it really fits in, and COVID is helping me a lot to do lots of things maybe I would not have been able to do in the classroom. But of course, I'm talking about year 11 and 12, and my students are telling me, Madame Lenette, we are working much more now. Why? Because with all the scaffolding that is provided, they can work by themselves at home and then send me work, and they can get feedback. Here, this was the song by Aldebert, and I leave that for you if you want to work on this. Highly recommended. It really motivated my different classes to work with songs. And I'll finish now to tell you with my last little recommendation. Think about yourself, because now, you know, I've been talking, my neck is sore, my shoulders are sore. So sometimes I do that with my classroom. So don't hesitate. Don't bother, okay? Because you know what's your pain. So I go there and I go there and I do that. So let's have a look at my last PowerPoint. And in my last PowerPoint, there is something for you here. Yeah, and yeah, so last one here. So I've entitled this PowerPoint Purple One to Finish, Soup for Teacher's Soul. And yeah, and in this PowerPoint, yeah, what be infectious, don't give them COVID-19, but a bit of yoga every day. Maybe if you've got too many, you know, it's hard for you, 10 minutes. What I do in lunchtime, I do a little bit of that. I try so as to feel good and to be energetic while I'm teaching. And also, this is for you. If you don't like yoga, I found that fantastic. When it's sunny in the morning, I do 5 minutes of that, and then I go in my office, which is a bit boring, I'll say. I don't know about yours, but mine is a bit boring. So I put a beautiful beach at the back so that the kids can get my energy, and that they see Madame Lenette is zen and she is okay, she's not boring. So these are little things that I've done with my classroom, and here you go. These things are working. I hope it works for you. If you can pick some little things, try the songs. This is a hit. Try the diary with girls, maybe not with boys. And if I have time later, I'll show you another way. We've done a virtual touring of France with my year 9 boys, disengaged, but they are hooked now because they are discovering France and the hotels. And mind you, one of the things, like the guidelines was choose 2 places where you live and say why in the task. I'm finding my boys telling me that I've chosen this hotel because it's nice, it's smart, it's beautiful, and it costs 500 euros per night. So for 3 weeks, we've been traveling around France virtually through Zoom, and I'm discovering fantastic hotels that I wouldn't dare pay, but they are showing me what they would choose. So that's a fantastic trip that I'm going through COVID, and these are my strategies, and I hope that is going to help you. And I leave the spot for my colleague Veronica, who's going to address you. Thank you, Kerry, for having helped me, because if Kerry wasn't there, I don't know what I would have done, because there were some little messy things about the computer, but it happens every day in our classroom.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Thank you, Marjorie. That was absolutely fantastic. So thank you everyone for bearing with us for a few technical glitches, but we've got Veronica here to do her presentation now. We're actually, as you can tell, we're all sitting in a fairly shared space. So we're supporting each other if something does go wrong with the technology. So Veronica, without further ado, we'll hand over to
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm trying to share my screen, and Kerry's helping me. Because we've been juggling between computers.
Which one do you want?
Share screen. Oh, hang on, no, that one. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Good evening. Yes, thank you, Marjorie. That was amazing. I'm exhausted. That was very, very active, and yes, just amazing to listen to and inspiring. I think mine's going to be a little bit more staid because I'm going to share with you the VSL distance education experience. And the reason I'd like to do that with you is to share a collaborative approach that we used at distance education using this virtual platform to teach our students, and we have been for many, many years, as many of you know, but it can be used to support teachers in the current COVID-19 remote teaching environment. There are a lot of tools, tips, and ideas that we can actually share and also basically provide you with, and even if you come away with one or two little tools, hopefully you'll try those with your students. And I've been told that since Zoom has had an upgrade, Denise actually is one of my colleagues as well, and she's just been amazing with her support. But she said that the new share has picked up a lot of glitches with the new upgrade. So it's something to be mindful of. Okay, without further ado, my learning intentions are basically to look at how VSL and distance education works in the shared classroom, in navigating remote teaching and learning environment. And unfortunately, we cannot share that with you or provide it to you. But as I say, I'm hoping that you'll be able to take some tools away and strategies so that you can use them in your classroom, because I certainly use them in my centre teaching and I found them to be invaluable. I also want to share known opportunities and challenges in a remote teaching and learning environment. We were all thrust into this environment so quickly and without much warning. We knew things were going to change, but not so dramatically. So yes, as Marjorie mentioned, we were all thrown in at the deep end. And all of us are getting this incredible technological overload, but in many ways, it's a really positive experience. And for me, the importance of collaborative teaching, informal and informal networks, is really something that is really very, very important. The support of the MLTAV, AFTV, which I'm members of both, and the committees have just been incredible with their Facebook pages. And I'm sure that those of you who belong to your subject associations, please seek out what your subject association provides for you. The resources are amazing, and what people are doing are incredible. Denise has offered so many voluntary sessions on how to use Zoom, and she teaches at our centre at Glen Waverley, and she's just been amazing. So people are really coming to the fore, and their talents are being shared, and that's what this is all about: collaborative learning, helping each other and supporting each other through these difficult times. My component of this webinar is also to look at suggestions to use with students in VCE. With the changes in VCE, I think it's really important that we look at how these changes are taking place, especially with viewing and interpretation being the focus, and us having to change the way we carry out lessons with our students, really focusing on listening comprehension, reading interpretation, and viewing skills, which we really haven't been coming to the fore as much, and that's what our students will be assessed on. But some of these ideas can actually be transferred, and they need to be transferred to junior levels, especially when students use the viewing tool. They really need to be taught at a very junior level how to describe a picture, a photo, a painting, a product, a French product, whatever language you teach. Try and think about how students can talk about all the different aspects, and that's what I'll be focusing on because we take our students to the National Gallery and we actually use a particular framework, the NICE framework, which I'll explain. At VSLDE, we use the Teacher app, and it's a holistic and instant quick snapshot of a class list and colour coding. We use the traffic light system. Students at risk can be targeted. Parents and supervisors can be notified immediately, and that's really important for us because we don't see our students like you do in the classroom every day. And communication with students, parents and supervisors is transparent and supportive. As in my next screenshot, you will see they actually have everything put on the portal. For report writing, teacher comments can be printed off and used as feedback, provided for worksheets and oral participation for students. Everything's in the one place. So you can actually cut and paste comments you've made and put it on reports. So it saves quite a lot of time. And if parents need support, you can actually show them what sort of feedback you've given for students. And more importantly, permanent records are there for VCE in particular. These approaches can be transferred to remote learning by using alternate online tools such as Google Docs. I use an appointment sheet on Google Docs, Google Sheets, Excel spreadsheets in a shared Google Drive. We have SACs that are housed in a Google Drive, and we've found that that's really, really beneficial, especially with these new written SACs for 2020 to 2023. This is what our portal looks like. When students have submitted their work, it turns from red to yellow, and then once I correct it and flick it back to them, it becomes green. So they have 16 work sets per semester, and then the next semester they have another 16. So there's quite a lot of oral work. We have fortnightly lessons, and students use the Google Docs to make an appointment, so they don't take any other student's time. Yes, the phone lessons also have comments. And as I was saying, the export Word document in the comments snapshot enables us to interact with students immediately once they've done their phone lesson or their Skype lesson or their Zoom session, or yeah, they're the main tools that we use. And they can get encouragement and support, and there's sheets that we use, Screenomatic, I'm looking into using at the moment to do my grammar sheets on reflexive verbs, on using adverbs and giving explanations of specified quantity and unspecified quantity with little grammar tricks. And I send these to students. Today I sent one of the reflexive verb videos that I've done. So I found this to be really useful, and students really appreciate it, especially when they're learning on their own and their parents really cannot help them, and they sometimes don't get help from school. This is what our curriculum looks like for semester 1, unit 1. Most schools have perhaps a workbook they use, a textbook. This is very similar, and the layout's very similar. But as I was saying, news and reminders on the right-hand side of this PowerPoint. Zoom Seminar 1, we ran two seminar sessions via Zoom and students in year 11 and 12 were most appreciative that they could participate, and then those who couldn't participate, we sent them the links and they could actually do the practice outcomes before they actually sat the outcomes. So we've done it all electronically, MP3 files, links, and to reading comprehension, and even their SACs, their supervisors administer, they're done in this linked way. So we're completely virtual. So it's been a really positive thing. Their weekly activities are divided into units, activities for reading, writing, listening, speaking, and the assessments are sent to us, and then we correct a few of those assessments, and then give students encouraging feedback for how they've gone on each activity. So we have a 10-day feedback period, but normally it's far less than 10 days. It's usually 2 or 3 days where we manage to get feedback that goes back to students, and they really do appreciate that. The sooner you can get work back to students, they remember the work they've done. Okay, but that's, as I say, in our distance education section. 7 to 10 appears as an apple, so very similar way of operating. It has reading, writing, listening, speaking, and oral components. Students ring in using Zoom and Skype, and once again, they're using Google Docs. So students at year 7 level are getting used to using Google Drive, Google Docs, and Google Links. The benefits for distance ed students is they're provided with a blended approach. They receive hard copies. I think it's important for students to still see hard copies, and also resources online within the app that they can go to if they have lost their hard copy or they can't access it. The curriculum is always accessible, online and clear, and students have instant audio files for easy access. And there are interactive points of grammar and comprehension, and the interactions have been tailored to state what the pedagogical objectives are at the beginning of each weekly session. There are learning outcomes similar to what Marjorie does in the classroom, and all of us are encouraged to use this methodology of learning outcomes and assessment criteria for each lesson and work set. So it ties in with the Victorian curriculum. However, with COVID-19, the effect on most of us, we've come up with a huge amount of fabulous caricatures that we can share with our students. My students get a real kick. I try and have one for them every week. So thanks to my colleagues who've been keeping me abreast of a lot of new ones, but I've found a whole couple of pages that they're going to enjoy over the next well, hopefully not for too long, but the next month or so, or few weeks, especially year 11s, because they may not be allowed to go back. So yes, good COVID vocabulary, you know, masque, rolleur, pour fuir rapidement, oui, gants, gel hydroalcoolique, oui. But, you know, as most teachers, I'm not sure whether some of you are also feeling this way, but the confusion and just all the little glitches that can occur. The brain is getting bigger, but, you know, sometimes it's, if you've been at the computer for too long, those exercises that Marjorie recommended really do come in handy. Okay, the need to use social media to teach our students. With the COVID-19, there wasn't much time, so there were so many to choose from. What do we do? Which do we go with? There were so many, but we decided to Zoom along with Zoom. The benefits, we found that it saved time with online delivery. Breakout rooms are amazing. I have my students on a Saturday morning breaking out into 6 rooms where 2 of them can share a role play. They can share a song they can listen to. They can do a close exercise with the song and then fill in the gaps. And they can also annotate and interact with me during a session. There's coaching support with Zoom and Skype, Microsoft Teams. We've got coaches at VSL, Mike and our IT team have been amazing, and also Denise, she's just been our Zoom queen. So thank you once again, Denise. We learn new knowledge from other teachers and students even. They come up with things that they've been using and, you know, they promote the fact that, you know, we can try something. More communication with French teachers through networks, which I mentioned previously. There's just so many ways to investigate new resources. The use of technology and quality YouTube clips are there to motivate and engage students, and I think we're using them more and more. There's virtual tours. Google Arts and Culture portals for virtual tours tend to really boost motivation. I've used these quite a long time ago, but they're becoming better and better, and I'll quickly address those a little bit in a few minutes' time. However, the challenges, we needed to access hardware and expert assistance and coaches for smooth operation of devices and systems. Our whole computer systems had to be adjusted to suit needs of Zooms, and because we were using Skype. Time to prepare and research extra content for lessons online. We needed to upload different files. Compatibility with different systems is always, you know, an issue sometimes. Linking classes, centre students who were not used to remote learning had to adapt. I can tell in my Saturday morning class there are a couple of disengaged students, and you know that tends to, you need to reach out to them and try and encourage them a little bit more. Discipline for teachers to separate hours of work and lesson preparation. I'm not sure about you, but I think most of us are there for hours on end extra. Preparing lessons, making sure things work with, you know, sharing screen and uploading before we start, and making sure everything is working. And then asking parents to act as supervisors for outcomes during isolation. The onus on parents when they've got younger children in the household, and then trying to administer outcomes for students, this can be a real huge issue. So I think as teachers we need to be flexible and work with the family, and also try and supervise if we can, but it's not always easy. So yes, it's a huge challenge. Zoom meetings, they can yeah, they can be a little bit confronting. We always have a briefing every morning, and I love the briefings. I love to see everybody. But you know, sometimes you're thinking about that first student who's going to ring at 9 o'clock, and then you've got the meeting and they're discussing something really interesting, and you're thinking, oh gosh, I want to stay and I can't. So, you know, smiling, I suppose, a little bit more, and despite all the juggling acts that we have to do, is essential. And then there's Zoom etiquette. I think there's a lot of new things that we have learnt using Zoom. I think with my students in the first week, I came across the fact that a couple of them were in their dressing gowns, and that really was a no-no. And even last week, I had a student who was in his dressing gown, and I had to have a quiet word to him after the lesson, and I said, even though it was a lovely gold dressing gown, it was, and he looked stunning, but alas and alack, we must establish rules about working remotely in the first instance. And be ready for that Saturday morning. You know, students are tired, but you know, at the end of the day, we've got to establish these rules. Just because you're working from home doesn't mean, you know, that you can come sort of in that attire. Turn your video off and mute your microphone before starting, to make sure you present yourself in the best light, so that, you know, there's no sort of other noises that come through. Choose an appealing screen background, but beware of flickering images that can cause headaches. Change your virtual environment to suit the language you are teaching. For example, I often go between the Eiffel Tower to Provence, Monet's Giverny Gardens. I tried today, but because there's 3 of us in such close proximity, it's sort of a drain on the system. But I always go for the you know, the 3D at the beach in the background as well. Before leaving, leave a chat message for everyone. Don't leave abruptly. That's hard to do sometimes, and sometimes, you know, I find I just wave, and you know, my colleagues know I've got a student ringing on the line, and because I have 3 international students, so when they ring, I have to drop everything, and that's usually first thing Monday morning and Friday morning. So smile, be enthusiastic. We're driving the bus, and we want our passengers to enjoy the ride and learn while they're at it, okay? And start your lesson with learning intentions, which I mentioned earlier. Give students enough notice about outcomes or assessments. Publish a SAC calendar that we share on Google Docs. Use an appointment system using Google Docs to carry out mock orals. Use gestures and facial expressions to motivate students, and a smile will make them feel at ease. And also, when things go wrong, try and be patient and you know, yeah, because it is stressful. Make direct eye contact with your screen and camera lens. I had my my plastic still on my camera with my computer. That was interesting. I never knew that. So it's amazing what you know, you discover about your computer. The light should be in front of you, not behind you. And students should be able to see your full head, not just your fringe or, you know, your eyes or, you know, half your eyes. Modulate your voice. So Marjorie did that beautifully, you know, even though, you know, she wasn't sharing, she stayed calm and decisive and pitched to reflect emotion and mood, and her passion really came out with the songs. Speak at a natural pace. Don't have too much coffee maybe, otherwise you'll go too fast. Familiarise yourself with technology and open websites and PowerPoints before class. Organise breakout rooms beforehand for role plays and interactive sketches. Troubleshooting's a must, and you always have to have a backup plan. There was one week I had 3 computers going. I had my desktop, I had my computer, which lost its sound, and then I had to have my husband's computer, so, and that had sound. Strange that. Use chat if sound is a problem. Ask students to unmute themselves or check their sound, or reboot, ask them to reboot their program. I had to remove a student from my class 2 weeks ago because they wouldn't acknowledge, they didn't use chat, and that became a stressful situation because we tend to lock our rooms for security, so after 15 minutes. So try to stay calm and decisive, and have a backup computer ready with a document, or maybe 2 backup computers in case a student didn't receive the documents you sent, or they get locked out, okay? Okay, planning how to teach your course remotely in the best way possible means try visuals such as photos, film clips, and good quality websites. There are a lot of websites around. Some of the ones that are raised to the top are not necessarily the best. Ask students to create research projects that enable them to use sophisticated searches and cite references properly. For example, if you're doing a painting, the painter's name, Camille Pissarro, La Belle Époque, 1940 et 1914, Boulevard Montmartre, Matin, Ton Gris. So you've got everything there that they need. And then use digital resources such as Pixabay is awesome for images, illustrations, graphs, music, and film footage. Google Earth is terrific to come into monuments from the sky. Google Arts and Culture for virtual tours through museums, landmarks, zoos, and natural wonders. And there's more and more of those coming through. Kahoot for games, and live worksheets to engage and motivate students. So there's so much available. The resources are almost exploding. So it's a matter of making a choice and using it well. To use visuals such as photos, yes, we've got that. That came out again. Oh, okay, duplication. We do World War II, and for Unit 3, Outcome 2, Marjorie, she used an example of Guy Monet. I managed to get a rather longer video about World War II, which I won't show, but it basically gives background of World War I and World War II, and because it's the 75th anniversary, a lot of our students don't have that background, and it's really important that they have that background. So, you know, if you're going to use World War II as a theme, I think it's really important that you give them the World War I, the causes, and then how World War II occurred, and this video clip does it really well. Now, the NICE framework that the MLTAV has created, and this is basically for paintings we used it for, but then now it's moved into visual works that we tend to describe, and viewing is such an important component of the VCE, the new VCE, that students need to learn how to use it even at junior levels. So it goes notice, content on many levels, the style, the language, the culture. What do you see? You know, what colours do you see? What's on the left? What's on the right? What's in the backdrop? What's in the foreground? Interpret what's the theme, the mood, intentions of the creator director, intercultural aspects. Create another language-based text type like a summary, critique, or a new ending. You know, give students a picture and ask them to do an imaginative essay about it. You know, one of my colleagues is in the Oscar, Spanish faculty. He actually took his students to the gallery and used it as an outcome practice outcome, and he's actually asking students to write about the Picasso painting was stolen for a second time because it was actually stolen the first time. So the pictures he used speak 1,000 words. So and it was really good stimulus for an imaginative essay. Ask students to evaluate their experience engaging with the work of art through rating or reflecting and saying how useful it is and why is it useful. Such as Marjorie's photo with Guy Moquet, what's the impact of that photo on our lives, and what would you do with it? You know, is it beneficial? This is an example of La Belle Époque Pissarro and how we would use that. You would describe the colours you see, what's happening in the foreground, background, left, right, what inventions do you see, like the motor car, the lights, electricity. So 1890 to 1914 was like a revolution of inventions, and so you've got the motor car versus, you know, horse and cart, that sort of thing, and you've got the shop fronts with the lighting, and absolutely amazing content in this picture. Okay, so when using this with students, I asked them to use the NICE framework, which I basically just went through in the first instance, and what clues are there about what era it is focused on? What new inventions can you see? Describe the modes of transport used. As a writing activity, write a description of Pissarro's Boulevard Montmartre in 250 words to get them used to writing at that level in Year 12. Then read the final description given of the painting to use as an example of what you would have focused on. When I go through a painting with students, I give them the vocabulary, so they've got the English as well as the French, and then they've got the final summary of what the painting should evoke, what they should have picked up when they go through the painting. Okay, and it's all in French, so I won't dwell on that. Preparation for reading and outcome, comprehension, this is Unit 3, Outcome 2. There's a letter from Jean Moulin. This is another one you could use for that outcome. Jean-Pierre Moulin, he was a French resistant who served as first president of the National Council of Resistance during World War II until his death less than 2 months later. His death was registered at Metz railway station, and the questions are really important: who, what, when, where, why, and even how. What are the important facts in the letter and the photo? State your personal opinion. How does the writer influence you? What would you recommend this photo or letter to portray resistance in war? Why or why not? How does this letter relate to us in the future? Why is resistance a good thing, a bad thing? What are the problems related to resistance? So there you've got the letter. I actually had one of my Year 12s burst into tears once she read this letter. So, it was really painful to watch because it was a Saturday morning class, and she was very, very upset, and I chatted to her during the session, and I said, "Have you lost somebody from a military perspective?" And she said, "No, but most of my family are in the military, and I dread the day." And I said, "Look," I said, "you may want to focus on La Belle Époque because we do different topics at centres. So I said, you may want to focus on, La Belle Époque instead of World War II if it's, painful for you to visit." So, yes, so basically that's his letter that he writes to his family, and the photo students can actually use. And there's a YouTube clip that students can view and then answer once again using the who, what, when, where, why questions. Who is Jean Moulin? What happened during this time? What is your interpretation? When did it occur? What does it tell you about the character of this French resistant? Why? And why did he do what he did? What was the result of his actions? And how does it make you feel about the character? So there's a lot of personal input. And if students use that NICE framework, they can get an amazing amount out of that. Okay. There's a myriad of social media when we think about remote learning. And this is why collaboration is important, as everyone has something to offer and share to save reinventing the wheel. And join your subject associations and use as much as you can. For example, go on a virtual tour of the Eiffel Tower with 360 views. You've got this images, or you can do a 3D tour of Versailles. The Versailles tour has been around for quite a while. The Eiffel Tower tour has been around for quite a while too. So I'd like to try and share the Versailles tour with you, but I'm just wondering how to do that. So what are you trying? I'm trying to share that one. So with the Versailles tour, because we've had trouble. Oh. Okay, it's not sharing. I apologize for that. Okay, so you can see that it would be very motivating for students to be able to participate in that, and they're actually on site. And if they're doing a research project, it's from Louis XIII to the French Revolution, so it takes you to right through, you know, the different eras and exactly what it used to look like. So, I mean, this sort of teaching is just amazing, and this is how Zoom can be such a powerful tool for your teaching. And I've learned so much by using these types of tools in the classroom with my centre students, and yes, they're certainly becoming a lot more engaged than, you know, just using paper and photocopies. Okay, I might just stop there. Okay, and there's, yep, no. Tricky. This is probably what happens in your classroom too, yes? Okay, and there's famous museums are offering online tours and exhibitions with more and more of this. We're getting more and more ads. So 4,924 museum views from all sorts of different countries. So, you know, in that sense, it's amazing what you can do with your students. And this is Versailles as well, which you can use as ask students to describe it. There's also remote learning, motivating links and cards to send students during national festivities of the language, and also giving feedback for one-on-one teaching, like bravo, formidable. Take students by the hand with individualized grammar videos using Screen-O-Matic, Screen Recorder, or iMovie for reflexive verbs, verb tenses, and idiomatic phrases. These are the types of cards I send to students if, you know, oh, miss, I'm sick, I can't do my oral today, so I'll send them a bon rétablissement card, you know, Easter, joyeuse Pâques, bonne heureuse journée, you know, have a nice happy day. So, you know, just things to make them feel special. Looking at the French Unit 4 outcome, is that outcome 2? Yeah. French cultural perspectives. The subtopic is La mode, l'influence de Coco Chanel. Product and cultural focus is what students have to do in Unit 4. And while I was thinking about French fashion, which I love Coco Chanel, so yes, we'll obviously I'm going to spend my time doing something I enjoy. Analyze information from written, spoken and viewed texts for use in a written response of approximately 150 words only for 2020. Now they've reduced the word count, and it's important that teachers have a look at this, because from 250 words normally, which they would have expected, because of COVID, it's changed to 150 words. So that's really important that we follow that, and that's why I've highlighted it. The written response is for a specific audience and purpose, incorporating information from 3 or more texts. So that's usually a visual. It can be a photo. I've got a photo of Coco Chanel, YouTube, and an article about her life. The school assessed coursework for Unit 4 will contribute only 20% as well, not 25% to the study score for 2020 only. So there are changes. Unit 3, it's 30% and not 25%. So you need to have a look at those VCAR documents so that you're not, you know, you're aware of what students need to know and you need to know. The written response uses persuasive, informative, or evaluative written response. For example, a report, comparison, or review. I write a report or a critique on Coco Chanel and her influence on fashion, French fashion, using the information in the 3 texts given. Okay, so with the photo, use the NICE framework again. What do you see in the photo? Describe it using the NICE framework. Who, what, when, where, why. What's she wearing in detail? She has a sparkling, mysterious gaze. Why? How do you feel after seeing this photo of her? What do you think she hopes to achieve with this gaze? Why? Use examples from the 3 texts to answer the questions. Okay, quite a stunning young miss there. Open the YouTube clip to learn more about Coco Chanel and her life, and I'd like to showcase this one because you get to see she's actually smoking a cigarette. And she's quite a strong character. Yeah, very fashionable at the time, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'll perhaps just take it to the end there where you can actually see, oh no, yes, it's just an exquisite clip. But yes, so there was one part where she was smoking a cigarette, but anyway. Okay, so stop sharing. Yep, stop share. And then, yep. And yeah. Okay, so write a summary of her life in only 150 words. Now, it's going to be difficult for some students. And using those who, what, when, where, why, which I've laboured. This is the article. I've had to squish it up a bit. Apologies for that. But yes, it's available online. But she certainly had a huge impact on fashion, and to this day, she has simple classical designs and really have had an impact. And basically, from World War II, she and her clothing, her Chanel No. 5, her success has just been amazing, and will be perpetual. It will not go away. And you could actually have a grid: who, what, when, where, why, how. With a grid, once they read the article, they can put the information in there. Oh, the O is missing the graph. Apologies. Okay. If you just the final unit 4, outcome 3. If you're looking at persuasive, informative writing, the students need to present information, concepts, and ideas in evaluative or persuasive writing on an issue in French. Normally, the environment is usually what we focus on. This little clip, Mickey 3D on YouTube, is very powerful. It's a cartoon, but it's basically really enjoyable. Students get a lot out of it. Yeah. Oh, you can't hear it. What is that? Okay. Can you hear it? Oh, yeah. No. Sorry about that. Glitch. It's all right, I'll get there. We're jumping along. Zoom, 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 zoom. Not long now, we're nearly there. Okay, so watch this film clip. For this last SAC, it's 300 words, no changes there. And with an essay question, for example, for you, what are the problems that are most serious to do with the environment? I've used this with my Year 12 students. They've gone back to Unit 3, Workset 3 for the answers to a survey on environment and the vocabulary on pages 25 to 27 to assist them. Okay, so those sorts of things have been really useful. With Mickey D, if you are teaching French, it has lyrics, respire, which means to breathe. You could use this as a closed exercise, which I've done with students, and you take out words, and then they have to listen to it a couple of times, and then they have to basically fill in the gaps with the words they hear. So it's a really good comprehension exercise. Songs usually motivate students and engage. And there's the translation. Okay, 2 valuable things from COVID that we've learned from remote teaching so far, or that I've learned, and I will continue to learn. I think that when the dust settles, we'll realise how little we need, how very much we actually have, and the true value of human connection. I think human connection is more and more important, and especially after our isolation. And also, I think there's an appreciation from parents learning remotely. You know, teachers, I think, are being a little bit more respected for the work we do and how we bandy together and try and make students motivated, but also enable them to be engaged and happy with their progress in their learning journey, in their language learning. And we can be a little bit frazzled. At the beginning of the year, we're all enthusiastic, but at the end of the year, whoa, you know, feeling a little bit ragged at the moment. Not quite as bad as this, Al, but, you know, bon courage et merci bien. Okay, all the best.
We had a couple of questions during Marjorie's presentation. So Marjorie, do you want to, I'm just conscious there's only 3. Are you happy to answer these?
Yes, no worries, pleasure. So are the songs the same or different every class? So this was a special situation of COVID-19, but I wanted to use this song to show how you can work with it at different levels. For example, I just played the pictures for Year 7 and I asked them, watch this. Can you tell me the story of it and imagine? So it leaves them, you know, to imagine, and the ending was pretty much, they all got it, that the little girl has become an old woman. And in Year 7, I let them appreciate, you know, les sonorités françaises, like the sound, they love the whispering sound of French, and then I've put on the board little things to help them. Whereas for Year 11 and 12, it was really at a higher level. And you can tell them to recount, tell the story. You don't give them the lyrics at all. You can do so many things with it, fill in the blanks. And from there, work on expressions, les sentiments, l'amour, la jalousie, les rêves, l'amitié. So all these abstract things, the feelings, and it was really worked in depth, and my students have understood that in French, when we express emotion, we need to put an article before this abstract noun like the love, the friendship, etc. But also it helped my students get the starters, which are cette chanson nous rappelle que in this song we can see that, I can infer, I can imagine, according to the song, blah, blah, etc. So it leaves you freedom, lots of freedom to be able to exploit the song. How did you do collaborative correction? Can you explain again? That was a hit for me. I tried, I didn't know that it would work so much, really. So how do you do that? I'm going to tell you, thanks to Denis' session, because I was doing my webinar and I was doing also my my meetings with my students, and most of the time I was the actress, yeah, if you like. But then I asked them to be the actors. Why? Because in this collaborative correction, so I open a page in Zoom and I share my document. And then I've put all their, like I took 3 students and their copy, and I use my cursor, showed their part. And I say, is that correct? Is this sentence okay? How do you think we can improve the sentence or the paragraph? And we've been doing that together. And you know what was exciting with that? Now my students know that 2 verbs, the second verb is infinitive, because all the way through we've been correcting these recurring mistakes that they won't do anymore, or they'll pay attention to it. And also after we've corrected that, I've put the different colors and I leave that to Kerry. I thank MLTAV for that, to give me this opportunity. And the colors mean that these are pieces of work and extracts from different students. And at the end of it, it gives you the finish, and I sent the students by email the finish. And I say hi to them. I know they are not here, but thanks to them, I've been able to show you how we can collaborate on a piece of writing. Are you using these online tools for SACS? The online tools for SACS, for example, I've been using for La Belle Époque some online tools. What I did, I took some pictures and I took all as well, for example, I read a bit about Les Frères Lumière, the Lumière brothers, and I recreated a journal as if one of them was telling the story. So I've, in French, we say réapproprier l'histoire. So I've created an extract of a journal. I've created listening activities. Yes, I'm using lots and lots of YouTube documents, and I'm finding them very interesting. And it's a hook for my students. I can find that they are more interested, and I'm using visuals more and more. Is there any question, Kerry?
Yes, Veronica, there's
Yes.
a question for you from Catherine.
Yep.
Do you show a video during the SAC time?
No, not a video, but the students have got an MP3 file, a listening file that they listen to. We send it to the supervisor or to the parents, and the supervisor or the parent clicks on the MP3 file, and that is a listening task, especially for unit, the last SAC we've just done. Unit 1, outcome 2. Was a listening task and a reading comprehension. There's another link with the reading comprehension that opens, and the student, and then there's a photo attached to that hard copy that the student sees. Does that answer your question, Catherine? Is it Catherine?
She said, okay, thank you.
Yes.
So anyone else have any questions? Feel free to, I think now you could probably unmute your microphone or put your hand up, and I'd be happy to unmute it for you. So if there are no further questions, I'll just remind you, if you have any colleagues that weren't able to attend this live webinar this afternoon, I'm actually going to download the recording. I'll upload it onto YouTube, and it will be available on the MLTAV website by tomorrow morning. So teachers that listen to the recorded version can also fill out the feedback survey and get a certificate of participation. So I think I'd just like to finish thanking Marjorie and Veronica again. I think it was interesting when they first came to me and we were talking about the webinar, that the thing that really impressed me about the two presenters, besides knowing fantastic at teaching, is their collaborative approach to each other. So I think as they've both put across in their presentation, the importance of collaboration, not only with formal networks through MLTAV, through your single language association, through networks within your sector, but informal collaborations. And I think that Veronica and Marjorie are just such a fantastic example of that. Sharing work, sharing, happy to share ideas, happy to support each other. And I think that that is such a critical part. So thank you. I think we'll sign off now. So if you can copy and paste that link out of the chat screen, but when I actually put the recording onto the website, I'll put a slide at the end which has got the link to it. So I'll probably sign off now. Thank you everyone and have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye.
Bye.
Bye everybody. Au revoir. Bye.